Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
I heard the cantor. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you. Actually, I want to point out this amazing greeting that just happened right in the front here with like the excitement and the joy. It is so good to be together and to see folks we haven't seen in a long time. And clearly it's not just the simcha, right? It's the timing. We've all gone through a couple of very hard years where it's been hard to get together and see each other, and even if you see each other, it's kind of been from here up. So we have mouths, we have teeth, we have faces, and what an amazing thing to come together. So a couple points just as we're getting ready for our service. So if you have a reading, your reading is listed over here with your names on it. There's a bunch of papers over there with names on it that haven't been collected. So if you have an honor, that's probably where it is. If you have a reading, you're going to come up to this choir mic right here, okay? And this is how you're going to do it. You're going to do your reading from here. That way you can see Sammy, okay? You can do all your things, and the mic is on. You don't have to adjust it. If you have an aliyah to the Torah, okay, or an ark opening, you're actually going to ascend up, okay? And you're going to come right up here. So we're back to this. We're in our second week of sort of fully back to full capacity. We want to thank our Temple Emanu-El members, both the ones who are present and the ones who are online. If you look up, you'll see all sorts of cameras and lights. We are being broadcast to the world. So Sammy, you're on candid camera. Congratulations. I want to make sure that your cell phones are off, okay? There's no photography as we're going through. Make sure that your Apple Watches are stilled. If we need to leave quickly for any reason, it's good to know where the exits are. This is my stewardess impression. Behind you, this way, and if you need to, behind here, okay? If you reach under your seats, you're going to find a red prayer book that looks like this. If everybody would do the reach under your seat and pull out the red prayer book. And if for some reason you don't have a red prayer book on your seat, go to the seat next to you where our ushers can get you one. Okay, so just raise your hand if you don't have one. Flip, okay, yep, there's a hand up here. Harvey, if you'll bring over a red prayer book, right over there, okay. So you can flip open to almost any page and you'll see that on the right, you're going to have the Hebrew. On the left, you're going to have the English translation, and in the middle, you're going to have the transliteration. Okay? So this should be open and accessible to everybody. There's going to be some words or maybe the language or the prayers or the tune that may or may not be familiar to you. This is a highly participatory service. So snaps and claps and taps and la la la's are great. God understands la 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 just fine. Here's the reality, okay? On this amazing happy occasion, this guy's a mirror, and you're a mirror. And we're going to shine a light back and forth between the two mirrors. The more energy you give Sammy, the more he gives back to us. Does that sound fair? Okay. Cantor Lorna Desnick, Rabbi Spike Anderson, Samuel Hurd, that's your formal name, Sammy, Samuel, okay? And let's do a minute, everybody. Take a moment to turn to the people around you, especially the ones you don't know well. Hello, my name is, good to see you, haven't seen you since last night, whatever it is. Folks online, please give a shout out, introduce yourself, tell us who you are.
Try that with me.
So Sammy, what are we doing here this morning, aside from you leading our Shachrit Shabbat service, which is a very big deal? You are leading us in prayer, and that is symbolic of the young man that you are becoming before our eyes. So we've got this amazing ritual in Judaism that over the course of 90 minutes, abracadabra, you go from being a Jewish boy to being a man. Now, it's not really an abracadabra because he's been working for months and years to get here, okay? So it's the leading of the service, it's the chanting of the Torah, it's the interpretation of the Torah that you're doing in really a mini sermon, okay? This is all this rite of passage by which you become an adult in the eyes of your Jewish community, okay? Now, there's some signposts along the way, one of which is the Talis. This is the adult Jewish clothing. So the tradition is that last month, last week, even yesterday, you weren't allowed to publicly wear a talis because you were a kid. But now, this morning, you are publicly going to be awarded and presented your adult clothing, your adult Jewish clothing, which you will wear as a sign of being a Jewish adult from this moment forward anytime you're in this type of worship environment. So to present you with your talis, we've got your parents, Brent and Carolina, as well as your Nana, Barbara Hurd. So come on up. All right, friends. So this is what you have here. That's okay, it's all right there. Okay, so you use the microphone. And take a nice step forward. I want you close to him. Okay, thank you.
As the talis is draped around your shoulders, may the voices of the generations speak to you. May you know that there is a people, a rich heritage in which you belong, a sacred place from which you are connected to all who dwell on earth. As you embraced in the folds of this talit, so too are you wrapped in the loving embrace of your family, community, and this holy congregation. May this simplest of garments always be for you a symbol of God's abiding and sheltering presence. As you recite the blessing and wrap yourself in this talit, we proudly watch and celebrate with you as you accept your place in the chain of our tradition.
Beautiful. Okay, and now Sam, I want you to recite the blessing of the Talis right there.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehit atef batzitzit.
We all say amen. Okay, so parents and grandma, you're going to take said Talis and you're going to drape it over Sam's shoulders. Beautiful. Arms come to the outside. Now, keep your arms around him for a moment. Okay, little brothers, come on up. Come on up real quick. We're missing one. Where's Brody? Is he around? All right, that's okay. That's okay. Okay, so if he makes it up here in time, he gets it, but if not. So we all know, and this family knows, that communities and families come together for all sorts of reasons, right? Some sad. This one, super happy, joyous. And so what we Jews do when we know that we're in the midst of a certain type of time, Brody, up here, quick. A certain type of time is we sing our Shahafia New Prayer, which you'll find on page 5. Literally, thank you, God, that we're here, that we're together, that we're doing this. And may we have this type of moment, this type of experience together again and again and again. Please join us for Shahafia.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu l'zman hazeh.
Sammy a hug and a kiss, and then everybody back to your seats. All right, good. So, Sammy, as you get ready to lead us on page 6, I want to point out that the Talis that you have on, is your grandfather's Talis. And your grandfather who passed away 2 years to the Shabbat. And so it is so appropriate that you are held and engulfed and supported by him and his memory and everything that comes before you. This is really a powerful, powerful symbol and moment. Okay, so we are on page 6.
Baruch atah. God be with me on this occasion of my bar mitzvah. Help me make meaningful the covenant you now establish with me. Sustain me with the sense of holiness, inspire in me a desire to be special. I do not ask that you make my life easy, resolve my problems, map out the direction of my life. I ask only that you strengthen within me the desire to mold and shape my life in accordance with your will. In this hour of my bar mitzvah, I invoke your blessings upon my parents and friends and all who have loved and cared for me and have brought me to this time of gladness. Give them joy and fulfillment in my growth and my achievement, you who turn the hearts of children to their parents and the hearts of parents to their children.
Beautiful. So on page 7, Sam, you're going to lead us in the Sim B'chol Yom. These are our daily miracles. Now, each of the miracles that you're going to be reciting and raising up is meant to be taken both literally and metaphorically. So if you look on page 7, right, take the second one. Blessed are you, the eternal our God, who opens the eyes of the blind. So it could be literally somebody who physically is blind and through technology or medicine or what have you is able to see, but also metaphorically, right, that there are lots of people who are blind to the realities around them, to what's going on in their life, our society, and sometimes it takes a miracle to have them or us, okay, have our eyes opened. So as Sammy's going through this, each one we respond with an amen, okay? And then afterwards, after he's done, I'm going to come back to each of you, okay? And I'll ask a few of you which one of these blessings has your name on it this morning. Which one of them most is speaking to this morning. So this is my way of getting you to pay attention, because I may call on you, okay? So, Sam, when you're ready, on page 7, would you lead us in Nisim B'Chol
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lasek v'nan lahav hayin ben yom u'vein laila.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokei ha'ivrim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokei kefufim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam roka haaretz al hamayim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamehayin misadeh kaver.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam malbish arumim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hanoten laya'ef koah.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hame'avir shena me'ana utnuma me'afapai.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani b'tzelem Elohim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani ben horim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani Yisrael.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ozer Yisrael b'gvura.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam oter Yisrael b'tfara.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tivanu le'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen. So take a moment and look back over the page or two we just read, so from 7 through 9, and see which one of those blessings has your name on it this morning and why that one speaks to you. Anybody care to share?
Can we stand?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Blessed are you, the eternal our God, who girds our people Israel with strength, because of the violence that's been happening in Israel,
Yeah.
and for Israel to have strength through the times that are happening right now.
Yep. And so in these prayers, Israel is both the state of and the people of. We are a part of it, and it's the country of. So yeah, tough times, and we gird ourselves with strength. Others, just tell us who you are.
Hi, I'm Scott, Brent's brother, Scott Hurd, and Sammy's uncle. Blessed are you, the eternal our God, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to engage with the words of Torah. And the reason this speaks to me so much is because I engage with the words of Torah on a daily basis. I'm from Dallas, Texas, and I go to shul there, and it has made my life a more peaceful, easygoing way of living. It's my place to meditate in the mornings.
I'm so glad. Beautiful. Others. Okay, we're swinging around. Tell us who you are.
I'm Jack Melsner. I'm Sammy's cousin, and I identify with blessed are you, the eternal our God, who has made me a Jew, because I go to college in a town with not many Jews, and it just makes me love being Jewish. The fact that there's not many around me, it makes me even more of a Jew.
Yeah, I'm sure you're a spokesman in a bridge. Good.
Hey, I'm Julie Saxon. I have been friends with Brent Hurd for 20 plus years, and I've been fortunate to know him and his fabulous wife Carolina and the boys. Blessed are you, the eternal our God, who makes firm each person's steps. I think for me, this is about asking for the strength to take the steps when even you don't have the power yourself sometimes.
Yeah, we can reach out to something bigger than us. It doesn't have to be pulling up by our bootstraps. Beautiful. Others, okay, yeah.
I'm Brian Meltzner, Sammy's uncle. The one that speaks to me is, blessed are you, eternal God, whose power lifts up the fallen. Many of us have fallen, and I think God is who we look to for strength.
Yeah, fallen. This is how we get back up. Okay, all right. I love it. We've got some good participation today. Yeah.
My name is Sean Hoffman Papayanis. Carolina is my niece, and this is my sister, Deborah. And the one that speaks the most to me is, blessed are you, the eternal our God, who clothes the naked. And we as very small children are naked and vulnerable. And as we grow up and grow older, our community, our family, our friends, our loved ones clothe us and protect us from the elements. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, final word. Second and final word. Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
I'm Paul Hurd, and this is my wife Norma. We're Sam's great uncle and aunt, and we live here, and it's been a pleasure to watch him grow up. What struck me was, blessed are you, the eternal our God, who opens the eyes of the blind. Because we have a lot of disinformation and ignorance in our world, as I see it, as we see it, and hopefully God can help.
Yeah, with some discernment. Here, I'll take the mic. You hang on to the prayer book.
Hello, I'm Fernando Sanchez, and with my wife Deborah, we are Sammy's grandparents. We've come from Tennessee. We're very happy to be here with you. And the one that called out to me was, blessed are you, the eternal our God, who has made me a Jew. Whatever our religion is today, we are all Jews. And we thank the God of Abraham for all that he's given us, but especially Sammy Hurd.
Beautiful. Okay. Hey, we're sharing a moment here, everybody. This is wonderful. Okay, so with that, Sammy, will you do a formal welcome for us on page 13?
Okay.
And this is going to be a responsive reading, so when we see italics, we all join in.
May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for fellowship.
Together, may it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture.
May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride.
May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet.
May it be too high to admit indifference, selfishness, and harshness.
May this synagogue be for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life. We are warmed up. We rise for Barhu, page 15. Sammy, we're about to engage with our Yotzer or prayer on page 15, which is our prayer thanking God for creation, and both the one-time creation, that we're here at all, and the world that's here at all, but that sometimes is a little hard to get our head around, like thank you God for creation. We could do it once in a while. Easier for us is to thank God that we have the ability for every morning that we wake up to recreate ourselves anew, to recreate the home and the environment that we're in, to recreate our interactions with our friends, social circles, and society and the world. How? By our choices, how we conduct ourselves, what we say, how we treat each other, what we think, what we do. All of these, that we are not locked into the history of yesterday and yesteryear, that we have some degree of control over who we are and what we create around us every day. Would you lead us in Yotzer Or on page 15?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Yotzer Or uvarei hosheh oseh shalom uvarei et hakol. Ha'me'ir la'aretz flattarim eleha brahamim uvtuho mihadei bihol yom tamid maaseh fereshit. Marabu maaseha Adonai kulam bihochma asita mala ha'aretz kinyaneha. Titbarach Adonai Eloheinu al sheva maaseh yadeha ba'amorei or shasita yafarua selah. Or hadash al tzion ta'ir v'neskeh hulanu oro baruch atah Adonai yotzer ham orot.
Beautiful, beautiful. In a moment, we'll all together be chanting our Ahava Rabbah prayer on page 16, which is God's abundant love. So this talks about God's abundant love for each of us, each and every one of us, and also God's abundant love for the Jewish people. Now there's an interesting dynamic at play here, and we can understand the dynamic because of the family units that we're in. So Carolina and Brent, you've got three kids, 3 boys, each of them very different from each other, right? Not the same, different kids. And for each of them, you have unlimited love, to the moon and back. The love that you have for one does not preclude the love in the relationship for the other or the other. With each you have a unique and amazing and eternal, endless sense of love and connection. So too with each of us, the Jewish people, and all people. Friends, page 16 for Ahava Rabbah.
Ahava Rabbah Ahavtanu Adonai Eloheinu Chemla Gedola V'Tira Chamalta Aleinu Va'avur Avotenu Ve'imotenu Shepatchu V'cha V'Tlamdem Chukei Chayim Ken Techonenu Ut Lamdenu Hamrachem Rachem Aleinu V'Tein Belibenu L'Havin U'L'Haskil Lishmoa Lilmod U'Lilamed Lishmor V'La'asut U'L'Kayem Et kol divrei Talmud Toratacha be'ahava. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher be'amo Yisrael be'ahava.
Amen. We have our feet on the floor getting ready for our Shema. Tradition, the first prayer that a Jew learns, the last prayer that a Jew says, and so many times between a weave back and back and back to this connection with the One.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Adonai Echad, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod, Shem Kevod.
Please be seated. Sammy, in a moment, you're going to lead us with our Via Hafta on page 18, which is the second part of the Shema prayer. Via Hafta is a prayer that, in its essence, asks the question. And the question is, when are we supposed to be our best selves? Like the best version of ourselves? When is it that we're supposed to be God-centric, that we're supposed to bring our Judaism to the front? And the answer that comes in there at first seems pretty simple. Well, when you stand up and when you sit down, when you're at home, when you're on the way, when you're entering your house, when you're leaving your house, in other words, always. You're always supposed to be your best self. The problem is that always is a really hard thing to do. How do you do something mindfully always? It's almost impossible. And so the Shahafia is a prayer that reminds us that we have reminders, that there are reminders to say, to jolt us into this state, okay, that we have a best self, a best foot that we can put forward. It may be your grandfather's Talis that you now wear. It may be the mezuzah on the door to your house. It may be coming into synagogue on Sunday morning to teach and to learn. The Judaica in your home, your family Jewish traditions. Each time we see and experience and go forward with these, we're reminded that we have an aspirational self that we can move towards. And we need those reminders because sometimes life does get distracting, confusing. Sometimes we get tired. Sometimes we get lazy. We need these pushes. Shahafia, friends, is on page 18. That's all right. We'll do it together. Ready?
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם אלוהים. אני
Adonai Elohechem.
Adonai Elohechem emet.
To lead us in our responsive prayer on page 19, I'd like to call up Deborah and Fernando Sanchez. If you'll come on up and join us over at the choir mic right over there.
Adonai, our God.
Nope, they're gonna lead this one.
Adonai, our God, you took us out of slavery in Egypt. You made us free.
Together, you were in the courage with which we overcame 40 years of desert wandering.
Even today, you are in the hope that, like a beam of light, brightens the darkness of suffering and despair.
You are in the love that creates, protects, forgives.
Standing at the sea, we felt your goodness and your love, and we sang a new song to you. And still today, we sing that song.
We praise you, Adonai, Redeemer of Israel. Michamocha, page 20.
Alrighty, we're gonna get together some energy by clapping our hands together. So join me and keep it going. Let's try that together. Here we go. קדחין אומך יהודה וישראל גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו קדוש ישראל ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
So, Sammy, in a moment, you're going to help lead us on page 21 for our Amidah, our standing prayer. And this is the prayer where we directly move into conversation with God, but we don't do it like a cold call. We're not making a cold call to God, right? It's actually a very warm call, right? We're saying, hey, God, we've got what's called a yichus, which means we've got a connection. It's not just me, that my parents and my grandparents and my great-grandparents going way, 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 way back to the Avot and the Imahot all have this relationship with you. And so with this relationship in mind and the warmth and the encouragement and the support and the engagement, we, all of us, engage in the Amidah on page 21. You're going to turn, pick up your book.
Adonai sifat tiftaf ufia gita hilateha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei HaKol V'sohei Chasdei Avot V'imahot, Umevi Gula Livnei B'nei Leman Shemo V'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Mashiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham V'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol atah Rav Lehoshia, Mashiach HaRuach U'Morid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chaim B'Chesed, Mechayeh HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofech Molim, U'Matir Asurim, U'Mekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Ba'al Givurot, U'Medom Elah, Melech Memid, U'Mechayeh, U'Matzmiach Yeshua, V'Ne'eman Atal HaChayot HaKol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol.
I'd like to invite up to lead us in our prayer on page 23, aunt, uncle, and cousin, Andrea Sanchez, Juan de Jong, and Noah de Jong Rotandaro, okay. And so you're going to be on page 23.
Many are the ways of holiness, varied are its paths.
There is holiness when we strive to be true to the best we know.
There is holiness when we are kind to others.
There's holiness when we strive for harmony in all of our relationships.
There is holiness when people of different backgrounds work together for a common future.
There is holiness when people seek justice and struggle for righteousness.
There is holiness when people create lasting poetry or song or philosophy.
There is holiness when we forget what divides us and remember what unites us.
Holy, holy, holy is Adonai our God.
Kedusha is on page 24.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב היד נביאך, וקרא זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני Avidu humakenu, humashienu vehu yashmienu, berachamav leinei kol chai. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Imloch Adonai leolam, Elohai Zion, Lidor vador. Hallelujah. Lidor vador.
Lidor vador.
Lidor vador.
Lidor vador.
Lidor vador. Nagid god lecha. First me and then you. Lidor vador.
Lidor vador.
Lidor vador.
Lidor vador.
Lidor vador. Nagid god lecha. Ulenitach netachim. Kedushatecha naktish. Kedushatecha naktish. Keshivcha Eloheinu. Mipinu lo yamush. Lo yamush. Le'olam va'ed. Here comes your part. Lidor vador.
Lidor vador.
Lidor vador.
Lidor vador.
Lidor vador. Nagid god lecha. Lidor vador.
Lidor vador.
Lidor vador.
Lidor vador.
Lidor vador. Nagid god lecha. Ki hamelech gadol, gadol v'kadosh, gadol v'kadosh ata. Ki hamelech gadol, gadol v'kadosh, gadol v'kadosh ata. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
Please sit. Okay. Sammy, will you lead us on page 25 responsively?
From of old, the Jewish people have seen Shabbat as a unique gift, a token of its covenant with God.
Shabbat is the most cherished creation of the Jewish spirit. It mirrors the essence of the Jewish soul.
Shabbat has never been merely a day of rest from labor. It has always been a break in routine from everyday life.
Shabbat is a symbol of liberation and triumph, of the holy over the profane, of spirit over matter.
In every age, Shabbat offered the Jew a sacred retreat, a haven of safety, a fountain of new strength and perpetual renewal.
Shabbat nurtures family life and love and harmony. A home at peace welcomes Shabbat with joy.
Shabbat is part of nature's design, the very purpose of creation. All that was created attained its fulfillment in Shabbat.
Shabbat is our hope, the calm haven where all the weary find rest. With the coming of Shabbat, redemption and peace enter the world. Getting ready for our Yismechu prayer on page 26. If you are bar and bat mitzvah online here for credit, this is where you tell us something you're grateful for this Shabbat. Page 26, Yismechu.
Yismechu v'malchutecha, Shovrei, 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 Shabbat Bekorei, Korei Shabbat. Yismechu, Yismechu v'malchutecha, Shovrei, 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 Shabbat Bekorei, Korei Shabbat. Mekadosheh, Mekadosheh Shvi Shabbat. Kulam
like to invite up your uncle, Charlie Sanchez, to lead us in prayer on page 27. And just Jan and Kenny Piro, you're on deck, so just get ready to go, okay? Page 27.
Our world is full of wonders and miracles, but all it takes is one little hand placed before our eyes, and we see nothing.
The miracles are all around us and within us. We are each walking miracles.
When we are bruised, what miracles heal us? When we see beauty, what miracles elevates us? When we hear music, what miracles moves us?
When we see suffering, what miracle saddens us? When we give and receive love, what miracle warms us? When we pray, what miracle renews us?
Every springtime is a miracle. Every snowflake is a miracle. The thoughts we think, the words we speak, the hopes we cherish, each is a miracle.
For all these miracles, may your name be exalted and blessed forever and ever. Jan and Kenny, if you'll come on up. Leading us responsibly on page 28.
Our God, we know there's no greater gift than peace. Help us to find the peace that comes from the love of your Torah.
Inspire us to banish hatred, war, bloodshed, and bigotry. Help us to establish forever one human family, doing your will in love and peace.
Help us to find peace in ourselves and among all people. O God of peace, bless us with peace.
You have given us the power, O God, to bring peace and justice into the world. May we always love peace and pursue it, and love our fellow creatures. Fill us with kindness, wisdom, and love. Then shall we learn to live in peace. Blessed is God, teacher of peace.
Sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova uveracha, sim, shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova uveracha. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova uveracha.
I'd like to invite everybody for a moment of silent meditation, prayer, communion, reflection.
May the words of my mouth, the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, Adonai, my rock, my redeemer. Page 30. Let's try together. Part two.
like to invite up Carolina and Brent, proud parents, to come on up. You two are going to share the parents' blessing on page 31, which we have right here. So Carolina and Brent, this blessing is a mashup. It's an amalgamation of some sayings from the Talmud, and those sages of the Talmud were not only these great rabbis and people of wisdom, but they were parents. And so we're taking some of the words from these parents through millennia, literally thousands of years, and now today you can pass these on to your son on the occasion of his bar mitzvah.
May you live to see your world fulfilled. May your destiny be for worlds still to come, and may you trust in generations past and yet to be.
May your heart be filled with intuition. May your words be filled with insight. May songs of praise ever be upon your tongue, and your vision be on a straight path before you.
May your eyes shine with the light of holy words, and your face reflect the brightness of the heavens. May your lips ever speak wisdom, and your fulfillment be in righteousness.
A Jewish home opens its heart, and its link to the generations is proclaimed. Today, our child, nearly grown, is called to read from the Torah and is welcomed into the congregation. May this moment be blessed.
Okay, hug, hug, kiss, kiss. This is the moment. So friends, Carolina and Brent, if you'll stay up here with us, and we're getting ready for our Torah service, which you'll find on page 32. I want to invite up grandparents, Barbara Hurd and Fernando and Deborah Sanchez, to come join us up here. Of course, we also recall the memory of Richard Hurd up here as we're getting ready to pass the Torah down. To open the ark, we have Aunt and Uncle Rebecca and Scott Hurd and cousins Brock and Jordan Hurd, as well as cousins Maggie, Zeke, and Jack Meltzner to come up and to prepare to undress the Torah. So if everybody would please rise. We're on page 32. Okay, ark openers right over here with me. Okay, come on over. Okay, and on 3 we're going to open the ark. 1, 2, 3, we open the ark.
Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, ki mitzion tetzei Torah, udvar Adonai mirushalayim, Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, Le'amo Yisrael, B'Kedushato.
Okay, Sammy front and center right up here with me, please. Dad right next to him. Mom right over here. Okay, beautiful. All right. Woo. Hi, Sammy. How you doing? Good. Good. Thank you for asking. I'm well. So I want you to take a moment, and I want you to take this in. Look at all these folks who are here today because they love you and support you. Go ahead and give them a wave as his eyes meet yours. Go ahead. Yeah. This is your crew. These are your people. So you are here, Sammy, as the Torah is here. You have something profound in common, and that is that you're here literally because of the decisions of the folks who've come before you. And we Jews believe that that all of this is part of not just a sense of common history, but a sense of destiny, right? That here you are today, and that you're taking on the amazing rights and responsibilities of being a Jewish adult, and with that taking on the wonderful Eitz Chaim, the tree of Torah. So I want you to take a look behind you, and you can see your parents. And if you look behind Mom, you're going to see your grandparents right over there. If you look behind Grandpa, you're going to see your missing grandpa. You know what I mean by that? Yeah. And behind them, you're going to see your great-grandparents, and great-great-great, and great-great-great, with an idea that the Jewish generations are wrapping themselves around the sanctuary again and again and again, and we believe that they're here and that they're smiling because of what we're doing, smiling and very much present. So now we symbolically pass Torah down through the generations. Just give it a little hug. There you go. Yes. Yes. To mom. And we're actually going to pass Torah to dad. Right, there you go. Sam, you're going to face dad like this. Okay, run to his right shoulder. You got it, Sam? Okay, stay right with him.
Beautiful. We are on the top of page 33. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Everybody take a look towards the ark. Gadol Adonai iti, uneromema Shemo Yachtav. Lecha Adonai HaGedula, VeHaGevura, VeHaTiferet, VeHaNetzach, VeHaHod. Ki Hu Bashamayim U'Haaretz, Ki Hu Bashamayim U'Haaretz. Lecha Adonai HaMelacha, VeHanith Na'aseh L'chol Rosh. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu Ve'ishtachavu Lehar Kodesh. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu Ve'ishtachavu Lehar Kodesh. Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. I say ki, you say ki. Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Yai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai.
Please be seated. Please be seated. So, friends, Sam is going to be chanting from the Parsha of Tazria from the book of Leviticus. If you want to follow along, if you reach under your seat, you're going to see a blue book that's titled The Torah. There's two blue books under there because clearly we Jews don't have a lot of differentiation in our prayer colors. But if you can see the one that says the Torah, you're on the right one. You're going to turn to page 831 if you want to follow along. Page 831 if you want to follow along. Now, a word from our sponsors. Raise your hand if this is your first bar or bat mitzvah that you've been at ever. Great, welcome, this is a big deal. Raise your hand if you think you've been to 10, 50, 100. Okay, well now you're in my waters. Okay, so here's what I don't want anybody to forget. Whether you've been to, this is your first one, which is amazing, or more than 100, what Sam is about to do is really hard. He is chanting in the original, without any of the cantillation, the musical notes, or any of the vowels, the scripture, the Torah, the Bible, in its original form. Okay? This takes tremendous work. And in doing so, his voice joins the amalgamation of other Jewish voices over the millennia that have done the same thing, and he adds himself to the chain of our tradition.
So for the honor of our first Aliyah, we call up to the Bima to come stand right next to Rabbi Spike, aunts, uncle, and cousins, Tanya, Brian, Maggie, Zeke, and Jack Meltzner. Ya'amnu Tova Esther Bat Reuven, Baruch Ben Yehezkel, Malka Yaakov Bat Baruch, Yitzchak Hershel ben Baruch, Yaakov ben Yamin ben Baruch, La'aliyah LaTorah.
Okay, family, come right over here. Will you take your Talis? And I want you to touch right over there, touch and kiss right over there. Perfect. Okay, so you're going to start with the Baruch Hu when you are ready.
Baruch Adonai Habarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Habarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
V'ra'ah hakohen et hanagah behor habasar v'sayar banagah hafalevan umarye hanagah amok meor v'saro negah tizrat hu v'rahu hakohen v'timeoto.
Yasher Koach. And aunt and uncles, you're going to touch and kiss and make the blessing.
Touch.
There you go. So we got the blessing. Here we go, microphone.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Hugs and kisses. Sammy, hug your family. And family, when you're done hugging, you're going to come stand right over here while I call up for the honor of our second aliyah, grandmother, uncle, aunt, and cousins, Barbara Scott, Rebecca, Jordan, and Brock Hearn. Ya'andu bat Bat Yaakov, Shmuel ben Reuven, Yaakov bat Shmuel, Baruch ben Shmuel, La'aliyah LaTorah.
Come on over. The one wearing the Talis is going to come. We're going to touch and kiss. Touch and kiss. There you go. Here's the microphone. Here's the prayer. Baruch Hu.
Ready?
Baruch Hu et Adonai Habarach.
Baruch Adonai Habarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Habarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'nasan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
V'ra'ah hakohen et hanagah behor habasar v'sayar banagah hafalevan umarei hanagah amok meor v'saro negah tizrat hu v'rahu hakohen v'timeoto.
Yasher Koach.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'sochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Sammy, hug your family. You may all be seated as I call up for the honor of our third aliyah. I'm very, very proud mom and dad, Brent and Carolina Hurd. Ya'andu Avraham Moshe ben Reuven la'aliyah LaTorah. Yeah, you can stay up here. Mom and dad.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Habarach.
Baruch Adonai Habarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Habarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
V'im b'ha'eretz levana hi beor b'saro v'amok en maraha min ha'or Osara Yemim Vera'a Mofa Lavan Vizkiro Hakohen Et Hanega Shivat Yemim Vera'a Hakohen Bayom Hashivi Vihine Hanega Amad Be'einav Lo Pasa Hanega Baor Vizkiro Hakohen Shivat Yemim Shenit.
Beautiful, mom and dad.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah temet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Big hug for mom and dad. You guys can be seated. And mom and dad, you're going to hang out right up here, right over here. And Sammy, I'm going to ask you to have a seat right in that last chair right there. Beautiful. Okay, so you might be wondering, you all might be wondering, why is Sammy seated before his fourth aliyah? So I'm going to talk about this word aliyah. Aliyah literally means to ascend. Sammy, what you are about to do is really make an aliyat ha-nefesh, an ascension of the soul. What does that really mean? Well, this, in just a moment, when I call you forward, is the moment where you move from Sammy, child of the congregation, to Sammy, bar mitzvah, active participant, active member, young adult of our congregation. So this is that liminal moment, the point of transition that will happen when you come forward and you chant the blessing, you chant your Torah portion, and then you chant the following blessing. When you're all done with that, then you are officially a bar mitzvah. But you're not just officially a bar mitzvah for the next hour or the next, through the end of Shabbos. You are a bar mitzvah for your entire life. So what does that really mean? It means that since the moment you've been born, you've been moving towards this moment. It means that for every moment after this, it is now upon you to teach others about your Judaism, your connection to your history, your peoplehood, your family, and your heritage. And so as you demonstrate that physical ascension, moving upward, when I call you forward in a moment, you're really moving upward spiritually. You're elevating all of us spiritually. And I always say that it is also a deeper connection, not only to Judaism, but to yourself, to the whole world around you, your family, and of course, to God. So it's my pleasure to call you forward, officially as a bar mitzvah. Come on up. Yamad, Abba for a bar mitzvah, Yaakov, Avraham, and Moshe, La'aliyah Torah. And you're going to make the blessing.
Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
V'ra'ah hakohen et hanagah bayom hashavi shenit v'hinei keya hanagah v'lo fasa hanagah beor v'tiaro hakohen mispachat hi v'hibis bigadav v'taheret v'impaso tivsech hamispachat baor aharei haroto El hakohen liharato v'nir'ah shenit El hakohen v'nir'ah hakohen v'hine paseta chamispachat ba'or v'nir'ah hakohen tizra'at hi. Thank you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'hayei olam natah b'toheinu, baruch atah Adonai, noten ha-Torah.
Amen.
So, friends, I would ask everybody to rise, please. Please, everybody stand up. In front of the open Torah, Caroline, will you flank one shoulder and Brent the other shoulder? Okay, put a hand on Sammy's shoulder. So, Sammy, we're going to give you a special Misha Barak blessing in front of the open Torah after having just so beautifully laned and chanted. We're going to do it in Hebrew and English. This special Misha Barak is for your continued spiritual growth. The hope is that this moment and this day serves as a spiritual cornerstone for you, one that you can push off of, going to wherever you're going to be going, but also a place you can always find your way back to. Misha Barak, Avotenu v'Imotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak v'Yaakov, Sarah Rivka Rachav Aleah, Hu Yavarech et Yaakov ben Avraham Moshe, Shehagia le'mitzvot la'ala l'Torah, Hakadosh Baruch Hu, Yismi Rehu v'chayehu, v'chonen et libo, liot shalem im Adonai Elohav. Lagopa Torah tola lecha bidrachav v'lishmor mitzvotav, v'yim sechem, v'seichel tov, v'nei Elohim v'adam v'nomar. Amen. May God, who blessed our forefathers and foremothers, bless you, Samuel, who's come up for an aliyah upon the age of mitzvot. May the Holy One guard you and sustain you, helping you to be wholehearted in your faith, studying God's Torah, walking in God's ways, and fulfilling God's mitzvot. May you find favor before God and all people, and we say, Amen. Beautiful. Okay, so, Cantor, what are we doing now?
We are going to remain standing for the addressing of the Torah, and if you would be lifting the Torah also.
Yeah.
And we are inviting up for that aunts and uncles, Scott Hurd, Tanya, and Brian Meltzner. And we are on page 36 at the top.
Okay, come on up. Yep, you do Hagla. Hang on one second.
V'zot Torah asher shel Moshe livnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe yalai lai 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 yalai lai 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 yalai lai 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 lai. We sing that one more time. Yalai lai 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 yalai lai 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 yalai lai 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 yalai lai lai yalai lai.
Please be seated. Okay, yep, everyone's seated, yep. So Sam, you're gonna come on up, and Sammy's going to now share what's called his Devar Torah, which are his words having studied his Torah portion, both from the heart and also from the rabbis who've come before, and in doing so, the light that comes from above is shown through the crystal that is uniquely you, Sam. Whenever you're ready.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
My Torah portion is Tazriah from the book of Leviticus. My Torah portion is mainly about diseases, the main one being something that is called sarat, which sometimes is mistranslated as leprosy. This is a white skin affliction that begins on your skin, but then, as the Torah reports it, can be transmitted to your clothing, and even the stone walls of your house. The thing that really interests me is not only how heavily the ancient Israelites relied on the priest for medical advice, but the fact that there could be so many outcomes based on the way the priest perceived your skin. For example, they would use the color of your skin's hair to judge if it was serious or not. If your skin's hair had turned white, you would have to quarantine for 7 days. If it was really bad, you would be sent to a dwelling camp outside the Israelites' main camp. Sarat did not behave like any disease that we know today. Think about it. What disease that we know of that can both appear on your skin and stone if not treated? So rabbis concluded that tzara'at was clearly not a physical disease, but rather a physical manifestation of a moral corruption. They proposed that tzara'at came from what is called lashon hara, which means evil tongue or slander. This means talking bad about someone, especially behind their backs. Gossip and drama just like that can just destroy communities and honestly makes people feel horrible about themselves. Also, the fact that they call the people with the disease impure upholds the fact that it is more of a punishment than just another disease. Now, how did our ancestors deal with the awful things that can happen to a person or home or a community through slander? Their solution was to put this person or home into what was called a timeout, into what we would call a timeout, meaning that if you displayed these symptoms, you were asked to leave the camp until you had reflected and repented from the damage your words had done. If it was bad enough that tzara'at had affected your home, literally the infected bricks were cut out of the house to try and save it. But if it was too far gone, then the home was destroyed. This shows us just how powerful words can be to prop each other up, but also to destroy. I want to talk about the Rabbi Hefetayim, who lived from 1830 to 1920. He studied my Torah portion and taught a class of students about it. And one day, one of his students came up to him and was like, "I just don't get it. How can talking badly about someone be so harmful? After all, they are just words." And so the rabbi told him to go home and get his feather pillow. So the student did. Then Hefetayim took him up onto the roof, and it was a really windy day, and the rabbi told his student to rip open the pillow. And so he did, and when he did, all the pillow feathers flew everywhere, carried away by the wind. Then Hefetayim said to him, "Go and collect all those feathers." The student replied, "I can't. The wind has carried them away. There's no way I'm getting these back." To which the rabbi said, "Exactly. Now imagine these feathers are your hateful words. They're already out there. There's no getting them back. Those feathers are sharp, and like your hateful words, they cut deeply." Some examples may look like you're hanging out with your friends, and somebody asks if another person can come. You don't really like that person, so you tell them no, if they're annoying or something along those lines. When they find out about it, 90% of the time, that's really going to hurt someone. And a lot of people take it personally. So then they're going to go tell people about what you said, and before you know it, your friend group could be divided into two, talking bad about each other, from one little thing that could have been avoided. Now, another way someone could take this is that instead of lashing out, they start to feel really bad about themselves, and start thinking that they're not cool or not good enough. And that can just make someone feel horrible. Nobody deserves that. Lastly, I want to talk about stereotypes. They have to be one of the most unhelpful things in making a good functioning society. Automatically thinking about someone one way because of how they look / what they believe makes no sense at all. All in all, don't talk bad about people because it can create so much unnecessary hate and it is not needed. And stop stereotyping people. It's so pointless and unnecessary. That is how I'd like to summarize my Torah portion. Becoming a bar bat mitzvah means that I am now an adult in the Jewish community. To me, this means helping out around the community, contributing to different events hosted by my community and synagogue, and most importantly, just making sure everybody feels welcomed. I cannot wait to play a big role in my community. I will also strive to make sure everyone feels welcomed and that nobody is left out. Also making sure that if anyone is in need, our community comes together and helps get them back on their feet, because sometimes you just need a second chance. Just like in my Torah portion. As an adult in the Jewish community, I'm of course going to join my own synagogue. I'm not sure which one right now. Maybe it's Temple Emanu-El, or maybe it's not. But I am sure that I will be joining a synagogue once I feel like it's the right time. I'm also looking forward to hanging a mezuzah on my door to remind me of my Jewish faith, and just having it there as a reminder always. I, of course, will also celebrate all the high holidays with my friends and family, because I think that is just the way things should be done, to keep traditions alive. For my children, I want them to be raised Jewish and have them have bar or bat mitzvahs, and have them celebrate the high holidays just as I did, so they can see how strong the Jewish community really is. Israel is one of the safest and most unsafe places for Jews, as we've seen in the past couple of weeks, in the world. In the holy city of Jerusalem, there is so much history to it. We have so much rooted there, but so do other religions. So naturally, there is fighting, and that targets the Jews, and we target them, which makes it very unsafe. But Israel, I think, is probably one of the best things to ever happen to Jews. We are encouraged to practice Judaism in our historic homeland for the first time in over 2,000 years, and it is just an overly safe haven for Jews. I really do think Israel and Jerusalem is such a sacred place, an important place for Jews, because not only is it where our ancestors came from, but it is also where we are going now to be safe and protected. I also cannot wait to go on the Temple Emanu-El. I cannot wait to go with Temple Emanu-El on the post-confirmation trip to Israel. And I really hope I get the chance to take my birthright trip to Israel and return there many times. I think being able to see where my ancestors came from thousands of years ago would just be so cool. Lastly, I want to go back and maybe live there for a little bit once I'm older to really get a feel for the country. I just wanted to say thank you to my friends and families for supporting me on this journey. Thank you to Rabbi Spike and Cantor Lauren, Miss Joanne, for teaching me my Torah. Thank you to my grandmother Nana, who is always with me no matter what happens, listening to me talk about just what is going on in my life. And thank you to my other grandma, Noonie, who is always so sweet and kind, plus her amazing tea and breakfasts. Thank you to my other grandmother. Thank you to my grandpa in Tennessee, who is the best boating partner I could ever ask for in the world. You taught me how to drive a boat when I was 9 and have always stuck with me. And lastly, thank you to my G-Pa, who is in a better place. I always remember you and the amazing times we had together. You had the best dad jokes, and one of my favorite memories with you was whenever I would see you. No matter what, no matter how old or young I was, you always had something for me. I love you, Grandpa. You will always hold a special place in my heart. I want to thank my Aunt Tanya for letting me talk to her about how stressful it got sometimes and just what was going on with my bar mitzvah. I want to thank my Uncle Scott for being the best uncle ever. You always loved watching me play football and would always talk to me about it as much as you could. Thank you to Uncle Charlie for coming all the way from LA, and I can't wait to go surfing with you again. It's the best. Thank you to my Aunt Andy and Uncle Tato, who I love hanging out with in Miami and going to the beach with. I want to thank my brother Dylan, one of my brothers. We have been together as long as I can remember, always doing stuff with each other, and my favorite thing about you is how no matter what I do, you always want to come with me. I love you. Now, I want to thank my other brother Brody, who is always cheering me on at my sporting events and who loves to read bedtime stories, but never actually wants to go to bed. Love you, Brody. Now, I want to thank my mom, who has always been on my side no matter what. You always explain things to me, and I love going to dinner with you at Houston's. I know how much you do for me and my brothers, and I will never be able to thank you enough for that. I love you, Mom. Thank you. Lastly, I want to say thank you to my dad, who is the best dad I could ever ask for. I love throwing the football or baseball with you in the front yard, and I know neither of us would ever miss a chance for it. I think you've missed maybe 1 or 2 of my games in my life, which is nuts because I've been playing sports since I can remember. You're always shuttling me between practices and taking time out of your day to go to practice with me. You will never know how much I love you. Dad, I love you. Shabbat Shalom.
So I think it's clear to everybody that we just heard from a young Jewish man and a leader, a thought leader and a leader of action. Sammy, thank you for those words and for lifting us up. And speaking of lifting us up, let's everybody rise for Eitz Chaim on page 39. We're going to invite up Jordan and Brock to come on up to open the ark as we engage Eitz Chaim and return the Torah to the ark.
Eitz Chaim hi lama chazikim ba v'tomechecha meushar derachecha darchei noam v'chol tivotecha shalom hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva Chadesh Chadesh Yameinu Chadesh Yameinu kekedem.
Please be seated. Sammy, come on up here. I'm going to have you stand right here, face Cantor and myself. So, it's been said before, but it's probably worth saying again. Of all the things that we get to do as Cantor and Rabbi here at Temple Emanu-El, including leading high holidays and ruckus Friday nights and weddings, that our most favorite thing is what we've been doing with you for the last many months, which is getting to know you at a deep level, and we have gotten deep, and studying what's called Torah Lishma, Torah for the sake of higher thought or higher thinking. As we sort of move towards you, I want to start with your family, and it's your family and you, but I have been amazed in the short time that your family has been with Temple Emanu-El, how quickly you all have jumped in. And that's a real tribute to your folks who know that this is a really important part of one's social and spiritual development. That's the credit your parents get. Your credit is coming to Emanu-El after really not having done a lot with your religious education for the last couple of years because of COVID, and jumping in. And now that I know you, I get why you can do this. But to be able to jump in and to learn really a couple years worth of work in less than a year. So that meant that it's not just the brains, but it's the drive, right? It's the focus. And I think my interactions with you, and you've been to my home, right? Your parents have been to my home. You're coming over for Passover in 2 weeks to our house, so we're getting close as families. But my impression of you is that you have not just the ability, and not just the drive, but the focus, okay? And the hope is that you take all these areas of success that you're seeing in life, academics, the sports field, social, and you begin to apply them to your own spiritual life, right? Your spiritual life is one like anything that can be visualized, and you can progress towards it if you have the ability, which you do, okay? The time, which you have, and the intention. When you start to push in that direction, everything else begins to come in focus in a way that it's hard to imagine outside, although we have inklings for it with the creative forces that we have within us, with the holy interactions that we have with other people, and of course, the divine. So my hope and prayer for you, Sam, is that you continue with this focus and this drive, and you apply it to yourself and your own spiritual life, but also bringing us as a community, the Jewish community and the world community, from where we are to where we need to be, a place of brokenness to a place of wholeness and healing.
Sammy, I was watching you all through the service, so impressed about how calm and collected you were even before the service when I said, "How you doing?" "Oh, I'm good." And I think that is indicative of how you move through life. And so my first blessing for you is that you continue to move through, times that may be a little nerve-wracking or times that are amazing with that same calm, cool, collected manner. And I also watched you soak everything in. And so may you continue to move through life soaking in your surroundings, soaking in all of those blessings. And finally, I was really moved as you spoke in your Devar Torah. You offered blessings of gratitude to all of your family members. And so that really demonstrates the strong, deep connection that you have with your family. And so as you move forward today as a bar mitzvah, I pray and hope that you continue to cherish those connections and that someday, many years from now, you will have the opportunity to build that kind of a strong Jewish family of your own. Mazel tov.
So now I'd ask everyone to rise as Cantor and I, and we as a congregation, offer Sammy the priestly benediction, this benediction that our leaders have been offering youth at these liminal moments in time since time began as we know it.
Yivarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha.
May God bless you and keep you.
Yair Adonai parav elecha v'chuneka.
May God's countenance shine upon you and be gracious to you.
Yisa Adonai parav elecha ve'asem lecha shalom.
May God's face turn toward you, Sam, and grant you the greatest gift of all, which you have right now. Torah is at your back, underneath the Ner Tamid, surrounded by friends and community, your whole life in front of you, every opportunity, a sense of wholeness, completeness, and peace. And we say,
Amen.
Please be seated unless you are Sammy's parents. And then come on up. Nice and close.
Okay. So first off, I just want to say that I had my speech on my cell phone, which Brody now has in the room over there, so I'm winging it. And I'm just grateful that we have that room back there. Sammy, I just wanted to say, well, first of all, I want to say thank you to everyone for being here to support and celebrate Sammy. And I wanted to say thank you to Rabbi Spike and Cantor Lauren, because we haven't been here that long, but we feel very welcome and really at home. And Joanne, I want to thank you as well for all the tutoring, because you really have such a calming presence about you. And Sammy, I just wanted to say that we're really proud of you, and I feel like I can't believe that you're 13. It's been, I was thinking about this when I was writing my speech, that you are such a kind, and the whole time, is it not close enough? The whole time, since you were born, you've always been so mature. You've been more mature than your age would account for. And you've always been so kind and gentle, and except for on the football field. But you're a good brother. You're very sweet with your brothers, even when they challenge you, and they are very challenging. You are such a wonderful friend. I know in this past, several years, we've all, our whole community and the whole world has been going through something, and very, life-changing. And you've gone through some additional transitions through there, and you've gone to a new school, and you've made new friends, and you've just taken it all in stride. And then on top of that, we changed temples, and you learned all of the Hebrew that you needed to learn, and your Torah portion was beautiful. And I just want you to know that I've seen you work really, really hard, and you've dedicated yourself, and you've focused, and I've seen you, balance your schoolwork and your football schedule, and then your baseball schedule and practices, and you just kept doing it. And I'm really proud of you. And I love you very much. And I'm impressed with this, huge milestone, and that I see that you've crossed over. Love you.
Sammy. First and foremost, again, thank you, Rabbi Spike, Cantor Lauren. Thank you, Joanne, has been an amazing part of our life in helping Sammy learn all that he's needed to learn. So before I started with my speech, I wanted to read to you a paragraph from the speech that my father gave me at my bar mitzvah. And this is the actual paper. And so we're thinking about you, Dad. And it's very relevant. He says, Brent, we have finally arrived at the moment that we have been talking about for years. Watching you disrupt Scott's bar mitzvah 8 years ago, we wondered if this day would ever come. I don't know if you've heard Brody throughout this entire bar mitzvah. It's funny how history repeats itself. So again, thank you to Rabbi and Cantor. This is an extraordinary day, and we are privileged to have people who are here from Boston, from Los Angeles, from Tennessee, as far as England, from Charlotte, from Albany, New York, and all of our friends. It couldn't be a more amazing day to have all of you here to celebrate this momentous occasion with Sammy. A bar mitzvah is a time in the Jewish tradition when a boy becomes a man. Sammy joins a long line of men and women in our family and our Jewish community worldwide who have studied the Torah, the sacred traditions that allows us to do more than study. It's a sacred writing where God shares his guidance for humankind.
That's a tall order, especially for a 13-year-old. But of course, Sammy, I know you are up to the task. And I'd like to remind you of a few moments in your life that I believe define who you are becoming as a man. Sammy, you are a leader. This means standing up when it counts, but a good leader does more than just shine himself. You have a way to get those around you involved. You might remember when you were 9 years old at a baseball game at NYO, where Sammy was one of the players. We were in the championship game, and the game was tied. And we were down 2 runs. The bases were loaded. We were in the bottom of the 7th inning, which is the end of the game. And Sammy gets up to bat. And before he steps into the batter's box, he steps out. He puts his hand to his ear and asks the crowd to get a bit louder. Sammy then steps up to the plate, smacks a double to the gap, scores 3 runs. We end up winning the game. Sammy, you have this trait that you can rise up under any circumstance or any situation. When it's 2 outs, 2 strikes, and the game is on the line, you've delivered every single time. This unique trait is going to serve you incredibly well in your life. Life always presents a variety of circumstances, sometimes good, sometimes challenging, and it warms my heart to know that when you will be faced with the game of life on the line, you will always deliver. I'm reminded of the quote by Hunter S. Thompson, who simply signed his stories, "The Jew." Life should not be a journey to the grave with the intention of arriving safely in a pretty and well-preserved body, but rather to skid in broadside in a cloud of smoke, thoroughly used up, totally worn out, and loudly proclaiming, "Wow, what a ride." That kind of life takes a healthy dose of chutzpah, which you embody. You gave me a taste of that chutzpah and fearlessness. Not long ago, we took a trip to San Francisco to a family wedding, and we were driving up the coast, and we pulled over and got out of the car, and you and Dylan walked along the coastline and found a way down a 100-foot cliff that Sammy started to walk down by himself. Now, as his father, I felt that it was only the thing to do to follow him down, although I was fearing for my life. We were on the edge and literally could have slipped. You boys were anxious to get down there to see what you could see, and being the dad that had to be tough, of course, I followed you. It led us to the ocean, but before we knew it, we were in an amazing place, a small beach, where we realized that when we step through fear, we actually end up in beautiful places. Chutzpah and courage are important, but of course they need to be balanced. Fortunately, Sammy, you possess a kind and caring nature. I see it in how you interact with your brothers, kids everywhere, and of course your family. Sammy, Shmuley, my beautiful child, the one who always likes to say, "I know I'm the favorite." And you know you love me the most. And every time I say, "No, Sammy, I love all my boys the most, and yes, you are my favorite oldest child." I'll never forget the day you were born. I remember it like yesterday. You came into this world screaming very loud. You made an entrance in the same way that you have lived your life. It has been my life's honor being your father, watching every step that you've taken in this life. Your courage is the kind that they write about in books. Your heart is one that they sing about in songs. You have been a leader since the moment you arrived. It is those leadership qualities and compassion that have not only thrust you into caring for others, and your example serves to ensure your friends and family are doing the right thing. As a father and a Jew, it is important that our lineage lives on. My goal for you from the time that you were born with a powerful set of lungs coming into this world was I wanted you to be good, do good, and create good for others. You have not disappointed. On this day of your bar mitzvah, I'm proud to say you have shown me a glimpse into your bright future, and it is something to celebrate. Before me, I see a good Jew, a kind man, and a remarkable human being. On this day, on your bar mitzvah, all the days that follow, I say mazel tov, my love.
So we're going to invite Sammy and parents, and of course Dylan and Brody. If someone could just grab them, I think they're in the lobby. And we're going to rise, everybody, on page 40 for Elenu. We're going to have Sammy and his brothers open the ark for us. All right, and Sam, come on up here. All right, Sam, you're gonna open the ark, and they will come right along.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Go ahead. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'atid gidul aliyotzer bereshit, shelo asaru kigoyei haratzot, velo samanu kimishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, va'anachnu korihim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, lifnei melech, malchei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, v'nemar, v'haya Adonai, l'melech al kol haaretz, v'yom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad.
Please be seated. Family, right up here to the bima with us. Friends, in a moment, as we begin to conclude our service, we're going to recite Mourner's Kaddish, which you'll find on page 41. Sammy, we especially remember your grandpa, Richard Hurd, and this is his yard site this weekend. And like we said, as you were holding the Torah, we believe that he and the others who have loved you and your family who have passed are very much here and present and very much proud and smiling because of what you've done, what you continue to do, and who you are. If you are in the Shloshim period of mourning, the first 30 days of a loved one's passing, we invite you to rise now and be recognized either in the congregation or from your homes. If you're in the first year of mourning a loved one's passing, we invite you to rise now and be recognized. Please remain standing. Please remain standing. If you are commemorating the yard site, the death anniversary of a loved one's passing this Shabbat, we ask you to rise now and be recognized. And if it is your custom to rise in solidarity or for the 6 million who have no one to say Kaddish for them, we ask you to do so now. You'll find Mourner's Kaddish on page 41. I would ask you to picture in your mind's eye the person whom you are saying Kaddish for. Picture them healthy and strong. Picture their eyes meeting yours, your gaze meeting theirs. And together, you slowly begin to smile. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shmei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach yiroteh v'yamlich malchuteh, v'chayechon of yomechon, v'chayeh dechol Beit Yisrael, v'galav yizman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olamei omayam. Eat barach, v'yishtabach, v'yit pa'ar, v'yit roman, v'yit naseh. Vita dar, vita le, vita la, shmei dekudsha, b'richu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbecharta v'nechamata, dami ram b'yama v'imru, amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shamaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Hosei shalom b'imru mav, huya aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen.
Oseh shalom, b'imru mav, huya aseh shalom, aleinu
bracha. May their memories be a blessing. Sammy, lead your parents right over here with me. Dylan, come on up. We're missing you, buddy. Come on up here. If Brody's around, he's welcome to come up as well. Friends, we're going to sanctify the day with Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Amen.
L'chaim. L'chaim. And, Sammy, if you and your brother would, I'll switch with you. Hang on to the challah. Hang on to the challah. Hold the plate. Okay, and we are going to break bread together, and in doing so, be reminded of all the good that we can do with the natural ingredients that are provided for us in the world.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov. Yehelanu, 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 uvechol Yisrael. Yehelanu, Yehelanu, uvechol Yisrael. Yehelanu, Yehelanu, uvechol Yisrael. Yehelanu, Yehelanu, uvechol Yisrael.
Mazel tov, everybody. Shabbat shalom.